President, you have today blamed the diversity elements, but then told us that you weren't sure that the controllers made any mistake. You then said perhaps the helicopter pilots were the ones who made the mistake.
It's all under investigation.
I understand that. That's why I'm trying to figure out how you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash.
Because I have common sense, okay? And unfortunately, a lot of people don't. We want brilliant people doing this. This is a major chess game at the highest level. When you have 60 planes coming in during a short period of time, and they're all coming in different directions, and you're dealing with very high-level computer work and very complex computers.
Now, let us get the thoughts of Amy Tarkanian, who's joined us on the line, the Republican strategist, the former chair of the Republican Party in the state of Nevada. Hello to you, Amy. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, good to get you here. Joe Tanner and Matthew, who are all previously political strategists, they do that now. They've both been deeply involved in politics in their time. We're all keen to get your thoughts and to maybe ask you a couple of questions on what you think of what's going on. First of all, then, Amy, what did you make of what you heard from the White House?
Well, I'm actually very pleased that they are getting rid of what's called DEI and making job positions that are extremely important, as we just heard from the people that you just played, that it's merit-based. However, I was very disappointed that the tone changed in the way that it did when the president was addressing the nation for the very first time. Yeah. Because last night when this took place, it actually sent a number of us into shock. We haven't seen anything like this in our nation for over 15 years. This is one of the worst air flight tragedies that the U.S. has ever had happen. And it's something that I think a number of us are still having a tough time adjusting with, because I myself, I'm bicoastal. I fly on a regular basis. And so, you've got people who are now scared, people who are hesitant, people who, need to heal, and people whose family, have lost loved ones. And so, I don't think that this was the right time or the place for him to start pointing fingers, because he's just made these changes, a number of these changes, within the last few days.
Amy, I wonder what you make of the argument, because we've heard it aired in the course of the afternoon and the evening here, of the argument that Donald Trump is Donald Trump. Those who voted for him, more than half of Americans did vote for him in the recent general election. They knew what they were getting. No one should be surprised by this. What do you say to that?
Well, they are right. I mean, we are dealing with somebody who is extremely aggressive with his agenda, who will bulldoze, an individual or individuals in order to get what he wants to have accomplished. He is somebody who wants to make sure that things are moving swiftly, and whether if it's, him lacking empathy or sympathy, not everyone in the world is gifted with that quality. And clearly, he's somebody who is more cut and dry and a little bit more abrasive in his approach, as opposed to, as you mentioned, Ronald Reagan. Yeah. And I was a child during that time, but I remember that happening, and we watched it in the classroom. And so to hear your commander in chief, grieve with you and to make you feel somewhat at ease and give you comfort in knowing that we're going to get through this together as a nation, it speaks volumes. And I don't think that President Trump hit that mark.
Right. I mean, Joe Tanner is here with us, Amy, and so is another political strategist, Matthew Talbot. Listening to you carefully, I think keen to get your views. Joe.
What's the reaction already been, Amy? Is there any sense, even just from perhaps colleagues, associates of yours, is there a real almost shock at the tone that the president took?
Well, I think you're hearing more so people are just in shock in general that this even happened. I don't think you're hearing quite so much the response from Republicans in the Senate or in the House yet. No. You are starting to hear more so from Democrats. Chuck Schumer out of New York has already been out there stating that this was not the time or the place to be pointing fingers, and I think we're going to start to hear more and more as the investigation process starts to take place. Because I think whether if President Trump, let's say he's correct in his assessment, that very well may be, but we're not going to know until the process actually gets moving forward with the investigation. So for him to just go out there and to either ramble, or he's just guessing, or maybe he does know something that we don't know, and so he's now divulged information that maybe got ahead of himself and ahead of the investigation. Who knows what it may be, but I still think in the end, you're going to have a lot of people very uncomfortable with the way he approached that press conference.
Yeah, Matthew Torbett.
Amy, do you think... I mean, Donald Trump is somebody that cannot be controlled. Donald Trump is his own man and will listen to very few people. Does it not seem that he's just going to give this back to the Democrats on a plate if he's not careful? I think he's orchestrated a show of force with a barrage of executive orders over the last week, and much of the media on this side of the ocean, as well as your side, seems to have bought in that's sort of political strength. But to me, he seems deeply insecure and a bit of a lame duck president, because a lot of the executive orders he seems to be passing aren't very popular with the majority of Americans. And if the Democrats have got a lot of work to do, having been seen as out of touch during the last election. But they're not going to be facing Donald Trump. And the more unpopular things that he does like this, is he going to just gift it back to the Democrats if they put up somebody competent like a Josh Shapiro type?
I don't believe he's going to have a lame duck session. I do believe the fact that he does have, it may be narrow, but he still has the advantage in the Senate and in the House. I think the fact that he prepared this go around as opposed to when he was serving in his first term, he learned a lot of hard lessons the first go around. And so he came into this before he actually took the oath of office for the second time by making sure he had all of his nominees ready in the can, and that they were already doing their due diligence by trying to sell themselves to the members of the Senate. And the fact that he already had met with his policy advisors to craft the hundreds of executive actions that he started signing within the first hour of being the 47th president. Now, are all of these going to be seen through? No, absolutely not. But these were campaign promises, and this is the difference. So he's putting everything out there that he campaigned this go around, because the first time, if you remember, he said he was going to drain the swamp, and he did anything but that, because he had to learn that it was virtually impossible to just come in and start with a clean sweep. So he came in very smartly, very wisely this time, well prepared to start moving things quickly. And I think that a number of his executive actions are going to be met with lawsuits, will be heard by a number of courts, and they will not all come to fruition. But it still shows that the man is putting his words into action and at least making the attempt. So if some of these don't come through, then guess whose fault it is? It's not his, because he actually puts it out there, right? It's perception. It'll be the fault of the left, or of the fake news, or the unfair judges, in his terminology.
All right, Amy Tarkanian, Republican from the state of Nevada. Thanks, Amy. Always good to talk to you.